On August 23, 2023, India landed its Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft on the moon for the first time. But this tremendous national achievement had an unexpected twist. Fired up by the Chandrayaan-3 mission, folks in India went wild, buying up plots of land on the moon. Besides, the prices are a steal, just $35 per acre. Here's the catch though, no national or international law actually allows anyone to own plots in space. However, despite the fact that those lunar land certificates are pretty much just fancy papers, they could stir up some real trouble when it comes to colonizing the moon in the future. Hundreds, if not thousands of Earthlings are claiming plots their ancestors paid for. And with those boundaries being pretty arbitrary, we're in for some serious drama. And this is going to be just the tiniest of nuisances on our journey to the stars. As humanity starts actively settling new worlds, we'll find out that building a real space civilization with the familiar things like communications, government, and finance is insanely complicated. Will the advanced technologies of the future come to our rescue? In this video, you'll find out how to spread Wi-Fi using the sun. What will space merchants actually be selling? What bizarre methods might control nations across hundreds of light years? And finally, why is becoming an interstellar civilization as we imagine it practically impossible? You're probably imagining future spaceship pilots endlessly scrolling through videos and online content while waiting to reach their destination. However, the internet we know is simply impossible in space. On Earth, a bit of information can zip around the globe 7 times per second thanks to transcontinental fiber optic cables that carry signals at light speed. And it's not just about comfortably watching cool YouTube videos like this one. This speedy communication is essential for our civilization's leaders to make timely and informed global decisions. But you can't exactly string fiber optic cables between constantly moving planets in our solar system. To communicate with its spacecraft, NASA uses massive 70-meter radio antennas scattered all over the world. They can boost transmissions from Earth by 100 million times. But due to signal scattering, up to 20% of the signal doesn't even reach the edges of our solar system. It can easily blur the difference between a friendly hello and an accidental insult. In general, Earth's internet would be a no-go with such massive data loss. Luckily, the Mars Network Project scientists are already working on the communication problem, at least for the future Martian colony. To provide decent internet on Mars, they're planning to place 6 relay satellites and 1 signal booster in its orbit. This setup could offer a connection with Earth at the speed of 1 megabit per second. That's 100 times slower than a standard internet connection on Earth. Plus, depending on the distance between the planets, the signal delay could range from 3 to 22 minutes. That's how long it takes radio waves traveling at light speed to reach Mars. It means video calls with painfully awkward pauses. Such slow communication is hardly worth the effort. And the farther out you go, the worse it gets. Messages from Earth to Jupiter's moons, for example, could take about an hour. And forget flirting with someone on Neptune. If there's a misunderstanding, your partner will have at least 4 hours to stew over your words. But would it be possible to establish at least some kind of communication with a colony beyond our solar system? The closest exoplanet to us is in the Proxima Centauri system, a whopping 4.25 light years away. It's so far that we'd need massive radio dishes several times larger than Earth and Proxima b just to send text messages. And even then, with insane interruptions. Italian astronomer Claudio Marconi thought that this was no way to build an interstellar civilization and suggested using using the sun itself as an antenna. His plan is based on the concept of gravitational lensing. That's where massive objects like galaxies act as a magnifying glass, amplifying and focusing light from very distant sources for us. And this could work for radio waves too. McCorney calculated that placing a spacecraft with just a 12-meter antenna at the sun's gravitational focal point could boost signals by quadrillions of times, enough to reach Proxima Centauri with no sweat. But this sweet spot is a mere 550 astronomical units from the sun. To put that into perspective, our farthest probes, the Voyagers, have only made it 162 astronomical units in half a century. That's 3 times less than what's needed to turn the sun into a cosmic Wi-Fi router. Besides, to get a response from Proxima Centauri, you need to set up a similar antenna even further away, at 750 astronomical units from the star. And all this effort for a measly 32 kilobits per second communication channel, with a delay of 4 years and 3 months. So, I hate to upset you, but with current technology, all we can hope for is a pretty modest civilization within the bounds of our solar system, complete with super annoying communication delays. The storyline of EVE Online gives us a surprisingly realistic and sobering view of when humanity might reach a certain level of advancement, not until 2730. Colonizing other star systems became possible only after the invention of a faster-than-light warp drive, similar to the famous NASA science concept, with a maximum speed of 30 astronomical units per second, which is 15,000 times faster than light. It became possible to reach Proxima Centauri in just about 2.5 hours. Ships like these could form the backbone of a communication system resembling the Cursus Publicus from the Roman Empire. Basically, a courier delivery service. Special speedy chariots could inform distant provinces about the ascension of a new emperor in just a few days. And that's exactly the kind of communication delay between colonies within 100 light years that the first interstellar civilization with warp couriers from EVE Online would experience. But doesn't it seem that drawing parallels with the Roman Empire might be something to avoid? Many historians believe that slow communications were actually one of the reasons for Rome's fall. Actually, the complex nature of time in the vastness of space is going to make life tricky for our civilization. Albert Einstein's groundbreaking revelation was that time is inextricably linked with space. As a ship nears light speed, space-time stretches for it. So, even if a ship covers hundreds of light years in just 5 days by its own clock, outside of it, it's still going to be 100 years. Even having launched super-fast ships, we don't eliminate the fundamental speed limit of light in the universe. But what about the warp drive, which, in theory, should keep the ship in a state of rest and unwarped time, syncing it with the universe? The hitch is the enormous amount of energy needed to create this warp bubble. And Einstein's famous equation reminds us that energy and mass are essentially the same thing. That is, a ship pumped with energy is pretty much like a small black hole, which, you guessed it, also creates a time dilation effect. Therefore, no matter how you slice it, all we've achieved with our warp courier delivery is to shorten the communication delay for the couriers themselves, not for all their destinations. This poses a huge problem, not just for communications, but also for managing colonies. Most probably, you imagine the Earth remains the capital, hosting an Interstellar Congress with representatives from inhabited worlds. One of these seats is likely to be filled by a delegate from the exoplanet TOI 700e, 100 light years away, often referred to as the Second Earth. Right after being elected to their Interstellar Congress on their home world, this delegate hops on the fastest warp ship and arrives on Earth in about 5 days. But for everyone else, a whole century has passed. That means the people this politician was supposed to represent are long gone, and the esteemed Earth representatives could practically be their great-grandchildren. Moreover, the composition of the Interstellar Congress would be made up of people from drastically different generations, depending on how far their colonies are from Earth. They would be utterly incapable of making relevant decisions, and anyway, due to the reverse time delay, interstellar laws would become outdated before they're even ratified. The Galante Federation from New Eden, a vast cluster of inhabited systems in EVE Online, faced this exact dilemma. Under one flag, 4 worlds decided to unite. Galante and Caldari from the same star system, and Intaki and Manar from many light years away. Each planetary government sent its representatives to a common senate. It wasn't a parliament, but more of a diplomatic platform for negotiating spheres of influence. So the president, directly elected by the senators from among themselves, didn't have real power over the 4 worlds. Due to the colossal interstellar distances and time delays, the founders of the Galante Federation didn't even try to create a centralized democratic government. Instead, individual systems handled everything locally. It's like if each U.S. state were a separate star system, and no one really cared or heard about what was discussed in Congress in Washington. Sounds not too bad, does it? But at the same time, such a civilization won't be a united nation. It's both impossible and impractical on an interstellar scale. So, you can forget about celebrating the 4th of July and other national festivities in the vast expanse of space. As a result, instead of a unified interstellar civilization, we're likely to have many interplanetary ones, each with its own cosmic nations and laws. But is there no way to change this? We only have one last trick up our sleeve: the technology of instant space travel. The Galante Federation only managed to avoid collapse by creating a network of stargates with artificial wormholes. Albert Einstein himself hinted at the possibility of these interstellar tunnels, so physics is on our side. Another breakthrough for New Eden was the technology for instant interstellar communication based on quantum entanglement. That is, pairs of particles that remain connected over any distance. Back in 2017, Chinese scientists managed to transmit quantum information over 1,200 kilometers. So, the emergence of a global quantum information network in the distant future seems inevitable. But will these technologies really be the magic pill to save our interstellar civilization? Today we say money makes the world go round, but in the vastness of space, even with faster-than-light technologies, it brings a multitude of not-so-obvious problems. Maybe you dream of being a crew member of a trading ship, traveling from system to system with valuable cargo and making a fortune. Do you think the biggest headache would be the threat of fearsome space pirates? Hardly. The real trouble starts right when you sign the contract with the captain of the trading ship. The network of instant travel through wormhole gates doesn't cover the entire cosmos. Into many systems, you'll still have to travel the old-fashioned way, using a warp drive. This means you'll still experience the time dilation effect, depending on your route. For example, if you sign up for a month-long flight by external cosmic time, only a week will pass by the ship's internal clock. Naturally, the captain will want to pay you just for those 7 days. But is that fair, considering you're objectively losing a month? And even if you negotiate something in the middle, the port clerk will go nuts trying to figure out for how long to issue your mandatory transport insurance. In short, our finely tuned system of ship transportation is totally unsuited for space. Now, if you're setting off on a really long journey to settlers in undeveloped systems without wormhole gates, your pay will drastically lose value over external cosmic time. due to inflation. You might even end up in debt. So who would want to become a space trader? It seems like a raw deal, except perhaps for scammers who'll try to exploit the time difference for their schemes. For instance, you could buy fertile land on an undeveloped planet for next to nothing, and then embark on a years-long journey, only to reap huge profits a century later by cosmic time from colonists desperate for that land for settlement. If we don't sort out a similar problem with buying lunar plots in the next 100 years, the true space age could turn into a financial nightmare for our descendants, even if the wise legislators of the Space Congress somehow managed to organize all this temporal chaos for the prosperity of interstellar trade. What exactly are we going to trade? International trade on Earth is only possible and profitable because some regions have what others lack. The beans for your coffee are likely imported from South America, which has an ideal climate for growing them. The diamond in your ring was mined in Africa's rich diamond mines, and the device you're watching this video on was probably made somewhere in Asia, thanks to its massive workforce. Science fiction authors often apply the same principle to space, replacing Earth's regions with separate planets. For instance, in Isaac Asimov's classic sci-fi Foundation series, the galactic capital, Trantor, bought all of its food from agricultural worlds since it was a planet-wide megacity. But Nobel Prize-winning economist Paul Krugman thinks this is just silly. In his view, interstellar trade won't look anything like it does in fiction. After all, every star system with inhabited planets is, by definition, self-sufficient. Why wait months for food shipments when you can grow everything you need on an Earth-like world? All the rare metals and raw materials we need are abundant on asteroids, and it's simpler and faster to build your own production from those resources than to rely on those light years away. So, for real interstellar trade to work, we'd need truly unique products. For example, animals with rare beneficial properties that can't be bred outside their homeworld, or exotic devices made by alien artisans using secret technologies. But let's be real. You cannot build a bustling interstellar trade on these niche products. Krugman also believes we'll return to good old bartering, as there'll be practically nowhere to spend money from these transactions. A currency makes sense only in a single market that doesn't require space transportation. The most popular items in EVE Online's New Eden are blueprints for various equipment traded over the Instant Data Transmission Network, and Krugman agrees this type of information exchange will be the foundation of the interstellar economy. Aside from instructions for making various useful devices and ships, works of art from different corners of the galaxy will also be highly valued. It turns out we've been giving away our most valuable space content for free for 100 years. But for an interstellar civilization, this means the more unique your world, the better. In short, our descendants are again facing division and anarchy. However, the truly effective ways of maintaining order on a cosmic scale might appeal to you even less. Imagine you're at an interstellar congress with a wildly diverse crowd from a couple hundred systems. Everyone's trying to push through their own agendas, leading to inevitable chaos and ultimately paralyzing the Congress. As a representative of one of the most advanced star systems, you cannot stand all this absurdity. If only you had the power, you'd show everyone how to efficiently manage an interstellar civilization. And so you fantasize about building a massive military fleet, bringing it to Congress, and finally silencing all those loudmouths. If you like this idea, congratulations! You've just approved Chancellor Palpatine's plan to destroy space democracy. Indeed, the emergence of some sort of Star Wars-like empire will be just a matter of time for a real interstellar civilization. It's not even mainly because of the obvious weakness of democracy on a cosmic scale, but simply because any sufficiently advanced system can easily buy the necessary blueprints on the free market and build a vast military fleet to impose its will on others. But at least a few other systems could do the same. Eventually, the arms race will result in one faction creating a superweapon, and only then can it claim absolute leadership. To demonstrate their seriousness, they might destroy one of the opposing planets. What are a few billion lives compared to a population of hundreds of trillions? Hopefully, you'll understand it's all supposedly for humanity's greater good and interstellar civilization's unity, don't you? But even the Empire from Star Wars, which could instantly move its super fleets across space, ultimately failed. And the destruction of its super weapon, the Death Star, wasn't even the main reason. Space is so vast that even with the most advanced military fleet, it would take years to suppress a single rebellion, and in that time, several more would erupt. A democratic interstellar government would be even less capable of responding in a timely fashion to pirate attacks and appear utterly helpless. However, the diverse factions of New Eden in EVE Online came up with an interesting compromise to combat cosmic anarchy. They agreed to create an independent police force, Concord, to punish order violators regardless of their origins. Destroyed someone else's ship, did ya? Concord's rapid response forces will be right on your tail. However, this system of retribution only works in a few regions of space with high security status, meaning that on the fringes, bullying the weak can go unpunished. Human nature being what it is, there will always be those who challenge established rules, and in space this will be very easy. Unless we find a way to change something in people's minds. And one such method has been known for a long time. About 1,000 years ago, numerous diverse medieval states united in a single surge to conquer the Middle East. Naturally, I'm talking about the infamous Crusades. Pope Urban II was the first to use religion to create a unified, motivated geopolitical force. And although the Vatican subsequently condemned any violence based on faith, who's to say that cosmic expansion won't spur leaders of star systems to similar manipulations? The Amar Empire in New Eden is precisely a military theocracy founded on a divine plan to conquer all space in the name of purging heresy. And before you object that this is just another sci-fi cliche, think again. Just a half-century ago, the largest country on Earth was an empire built precisely on ideology. And in the vastness of space, brainwashing might be almost the only way to unite people under one banner across light years. But even the adherents of the most ruthless ideology eventually succumb to doubt, inevitably leading to division. So, if you really want to overcome cosmic chaos, you'll have to literally get inside your subjects' heads. One of the most mysterious factions in New Eden is the Triglavian Collective. Using faster-than-light communication, its founders have connected the minds of millions into a hive intelligence with three main centers of influence. Little is known about the inner life of the Triglavians, but if left unchecked, they could easily engulf the entire inhabited cosmos without firing a single shot, simply by integrating its population into their collective mind. This may be the final form of a distant future interstellar civilization, devoid of human individuality, but extraordinarily stable because of it. However, one fundamental limitation of the laws of nature almost certainly saves us from such a grim fate. The moment you decide to contact a friend on Proxima Centauri through a faster-than-light quantum network, something incredible happens. Their response arrives even before you finished typing your message. I've detailed how this is possible in a comprehensive video about faster-than-light travel. To summarize, scientists have calculated that instant communication in space inevitably creates a time paradox that could tear apart the very fabric of space-time. So, a creepy, cosmic-scale hive intelligence is probably physically impossible. But without faster-than-light communication, let alone travel, our interstellar civilization is doomed to be a mosaic of systems isolated by decades or even centuries of travel. Does the universe itself ultimately force us to give up the dream of a grand interstellar civilization? Would you embark towards new frontiers, knowing the immense challenges that await you?